Hey, what's up? It's Josh. Back again, husband, father, try to be a man of character, businessman. Hey, today I want to talk about a call that I received today. And I'm switching it up a little bit, and I apologize because I've been in a huge rush. Today is my son's senior night for basketball, representing Jaden. So I kind of been scrambling. But anyway, I want to talk about a call that I had earlier where I was talking with a friend who was frustrated about the lack of success he's been having with a particular idea that he's been working on for a number of years. And one of the things that he really didn't take into consideration was the way that the market was going to respond to the idea. And also the fact that it took so long to actually launch the idea, even if there was a particular demand when he had first conceived the idea, it doesn't necessarily mean that that same demand and sentiment is still here 3.5 years later. I say all that to say it's important to be able to validate ideas. You know, there's a lot of ideas that may be good ideas, to the ear. You know, man, that sounds like a great idea. But until it's validated, until it's proven, that's just all it is an idea. And there's too many people that's spending too much time and too much money on ideas that ultimately don't become profitable. One of the things that could be very strategic and very beneficial is launching before you create. To be able to launch before you create. There's a recent example of this woman, and her name is escaping me, but her family are vegans, and she was creating these mushroom burgers, and she thought about creating a business around it. But before she did so, she created a website, which today's time can be fairly inexpensive to do. She actually created a page and did a pre-order. So she didn't create the site. She didn't create the business. She didn't create the burgers first, these mushroom burgers. She first identified if there was a demand. A lot of times there's needs, but a lot of times people don't buy things in which they need. They buy things in which they want. And sometimes there's even things in which people want, but they're not willing to pay for. I have a software that is like that, where there are enough people who are willing to pay for it, but then there are others who they're not willing to pay for it themselves. But if their company paid for the software, they would use it. They love it. They see the value, but they're just not willing to pay for it themselves. So what does that do? It causes you to think through, how do you approach the marketplace? One of the things that I recently done is, and I'm going to be showing this service this month, in our 28-day journey. But there was actually a proprietary piece of software that cost tens of thousands of dollars in order to acquire. But before I can't even say the risk, but before I invested in the software, what I did first is I pre-sold the solution. I made sure that I was able to sell it before I actually invested into the particular platform. So, be able to pre-sell. We live in a time where it's much easier to create an MVP. There's print-on-demand companies. You want to write a book. You don't have to have thousands of books just sitting around. You can have books printed one at a time. If you want to sell shirts, just create the design. There's so many freelancers. There's so many phenomenal artists and designers out here that can be able to create a mock-up of what it is in which you're trying to sell. And then just based on the image, you can sell that. You don't have to invest the time to source materials and do all these other things. So I say all that to say, validate the offer before you're spending money, time, resources, energy into the particular product or service. Because sometimes you may find yourself disappointed that you're not getting the response in which you were looking for. But if you would have did some polls, if you would have did some, if you would have tried to pre-sell the product before creating it, then you would have known early in the process that, hey, this isn't really something that people want. And if it is something in which people want, you may have to package it or combine it with other things also. So it's important to just keep that in consideration, and it's important to move forward. It's very easy to be able to come up with ideas, but execution is what takes it to the next level. And with the technology, with the resources, there's polling software. There's so many things in which you could do. You could utilize your own, your own social media accounts to get feedback, but do what is necessary to make sure you validate an offer before investing a lot of time or money in that particular product or service, and to prevent yourself potentially some heartache. So that's today's lesson. Today's day 6 of our 28-day journey. Look forward to connecting with you all soon. Have a wonderful day. All right.